If you think Neanderthals were brutish and primitive, you're completely wrong. The truth is, they were masters of survival. For hundreds of thousands of years, they thrived in some of history's most hostile environments. They dominated Europe and Asia during the Ice Age, a feat that requires more than brute strength. It requires intelligence, ingenuity, and a complex social organization. But how did they do it? To uncover the secrets of their daily survival, we need to go beyond the cliché image and examine the evidence that shows us how they thought, acted, and lived. Hunting wasn't a random act. It was a science for Neanderthals. They were highly efficient ambush hunters, a tactic that required complex mental planning and a deep knowledge of the terrain and animal behavior. Instead of pursuing prey over long distances, they used their strength and intelligence to corner and ambush large animals like mammoths and woolly rhinos in areas where escape was limited. Their main hunting tool was wooden spears with stone points, created with the complex levallois technique, a process that demanded the skill to foresee and produce a perfect stone point from flint block. But the Neanderthal diet was much more varied than once thought. Analysis of their teeth and tools shows that while meat was a crucial part of their diet, they also adapted to their environment. We find evidence that they consumed fish, seafood, nuts, and vegetables, showing a remarkable ability to adapt to different environments and food sources. This dietary flexibility was a vital survival strategy, ensuring they didn't depend on a single food source, which made them more resilient to seasonal and environmental changes. The need to hunt and feed themselves, therefore, shaped their daily lives and led them to develop more sophisticated tools and more resilient shelters. Neanderthal survival depended on their ability to innovate and create. Their tools weren't simple chipped stones. They were the products of a sophisticated manufacturing process. The levallois technique, one of the most impressive, demonstrates remarkable mental planning. To produce a perfect spear point, a Neanderthal needed to visualize the final result in a flint block, prepare the stone with precise strikes, and finally remove the final point with a single blow. This technique, which required abstract thought and advanced motor coordination, is a clear sign of their intelligence. Besides spears, they produced scrapers to prepare hides, which were used to create clothing and shelters. But they didn't just live in caves. Neanderthal ingenuity extended to architecture. At sites like the one in Ukraine, we find evidence of shelters built with mammoth bones, a testament to their engineering capacity to create dwellings that could withstand the intense cold. These shelters, made with bone structures and covered with hides, were an ingenious response to glacial environments and the lack of caves on the vast steppe. And none of this would be possible without the control of one of the most essential elements for their survival: fire. Fire not only offered warmth and light, but was also the force behind the manufacture of more complex and durable tools. The mastery of fire was, perhaps, the greatest achievement of the Neanderthals, serving as the backbone of their daily survival. Fire provided vital warmth to endure the harsh winters of the Ice Age, a protection against hypothermia that could be fatal. It also served as a source of light, allowing activities to continue after sunset and keeping nocturnal predators like bears and cave lions at a safe distance. However, fire was more than a survival tool. It transformed food. By cooking meat, Neanderthals made it more tender and easier to digest, which increased the efficiency of nutrient and energy absorption. But perhaps the most significant role of fire was social. Time around the campfire was a moment of socialization, where stories were told, skills were taught, and group bonds were strengthened. The light and warmth of the fire transformed the night from a time of fear into a moment of unity and camaraderie, making group cooperation what, in fact, made survival possible. Neanderthal survival was a communal, not individual, feat. They lived in close-knit groups, and an individual's life depended on the constant support of the community. This cooperation was the key to facing the challenges of a brutal world. Evidence from skeletons with fractured bones and severe diseases that healed, like the famous Old Man of La Chapelle Saints, shows that they cared for the sick and the elderly. This individual, who suffered from severe arthritis and had lost almost all his teeth, survived for a long time thanks to the care of his group, who likely fed him pre-chewed or soft meat. This reveals a level of empathy and altruism that, for a long time, was thought to be exclusive to our species. Group life also involved the division of labor, where hunting was a collective activity and caring for the young was a shared responsibility. The analysis of burial rituals, with the careful arrangement of bodies, suggests that they had empathy and felt the pain of loss, which strengthened group bonds and ensured the transmission of knowledge between generations. Group cooperation, in fact, was what made survival possible. For all the Neanderthals' achievements to be possible, hunting, technology, the mastery of fire, and group cooperation, they needed more than instinct. The true key to their longevity was their intelligence. Neanderthals had a large brain, comparable to or even larger than that of Homo sapiens, and this brain mass allowed them to have abstract thought and a capacity for planning that went far beyond responding to immediate stimuli. This intelligence manifested in their ability to plan complex hunting strategies, such as ambushes, which required knowledge of the terrain and coordination among group members. It also showed in the development of sophisticated tools, like the Levallois technique, which required them to visualize the final shape of a tool before they even began to create it. Their capacity for adaptation, their ingenuity, and their practical intelligence were the true keys to their longevity, showing that it wasn't strength, but rather cunning, that kept them alive. Life in a constantly changing environment required them to be able to learn from mistakes, to innovate, and to pass knowledge on to the next generations, a trait of their cognitive complexity that shows us how truly human they were. So, how did they really survive every day? They survived with intelligence, ingenuity, and compassion. They were cunning hunters, talented artisans, and complex social beings. Their ability to adapt to a hostile world, to create, and to care for one another is proof of their humanity. Neanderthals were not an evolutionary failure, but rather an incredibly successful species that shows us that survival is more than strength. It's the ability to innovate and to connect.